When I started writing this talk, I really wanted to start well. You want to make an impact and kind of wow you from the get-go. And I kind of played with a few things and thought, well, how am I going to start my talk about happiness? I don't want to bore you and send you to sleep. And I thought, well, all good stories should start at the beginning. So, oh my goodness, if you could have seen me 2 years ago, you would not think I'd be standing in front of you now. I would not be talking about happiness. I certainly would not have written a book about it. I felt like happiness had not only unfriended me, it blocked me and reported me on Facebook to boot. Happiness was not a thing in my life at that point. My marriage was crumbling. I had 3 children. I still have 3 children that I had to look after, and I had little to no money. The worst moment was sitting in a car park outside a supermarket and literally having no money to buy food for my family. None. Not a penny. And crying my eyes out. And I just like, help me. I can't do this anymore. And yet I'm here, able to stand in front of you today, talking about happiness. I mean, the journey that I've been on is slightly crazy, but as all journeys are, the best ones. And it's very easy to look at something like happiness and think that it's kind of light and fluffy and unicorns and rainbows. I love unicorns and rainbows, but that's beside the point. But actually, everything that I talk about today and in the book is my life. I've lived it. I've been through it. It's not, to me, something that's light and fluffy. It's something that is fundamentally important, which is why I want to share it with the world. I think we all deserve to be happy. We really do. I mean, basically, in the last 2 years, I have gone from being a zero to being a hero in my own life, and to being the happiest person I know to boot as well. I realised that I was looking for happiness in all the wrong places, so that I would spend most of my time looking for happiness outside of myself. The boyfriends, the jobs, the things, the material possessions. All of it would be the magical cure that was going to make me happier. And of course, none of it worked. Not one thing ever made me actually go, this is it, this is the thing that's going to change it and solve it and make everything better. Might have done for a little bit, but for a long period of time, it wasn't working. And then suddenly I had one of those aha moments, where I basically cleared the muck away from the window of my soul and was able to see things clearly, probably for the first time in my whole life. Happiness was not out there, it was in here. And once I got that, it changed everything. I'm really, really happy that personal well-being and mental health are being talked about now like never before. That conversation is long, long overdue. But actually, a lot of people have become quite complacent. So when I talk about happiness, I can see some people kind of switching off and they're a bit like, oh yeah, we know all that, it's a bit boring. But it's the equivalent to me of a safety demonstration on an aeroplane. You know, the one where they go and the exits are here and here, one of them. Most people, because we now fly more than ever before, when the steward starts doing all this business, we switch off. We look through the brochure, we look out the window, we wait to see what drink trolleys come in. We're not listening. And yet, God forbid, you know, accidents do happen. And for me, personal well-being and mental health conversations are just as important as a safety demonstration on an aeroplane. Just because it's rare that anything bad and dark will happen doesn't mean that it can't happen. And I would rather have the knowledge and the wisdom to deal with something if it crops up than sitting there in the darkness thinking, what do I do now? That's why I think it's really, really important to have these conversations. I have to remember that nobody at school ever taught me how to be happy. It was so taken for granted that it's something that you just know how to do. I mean, I had lessons on things that I have not used for 1 second since I left school. I did algebra and Latin, for crying out loud. I have not used them for a second since I left, but they were taught and taught and taught. And yet something as fundamentally important as happiness was barely even given a mention. I genuinely, honestly believe that if children were taught how to be happy and to go within and to focus on themselves from a young age, we would have less mental health problems in the adult population. I honestly believe that. It's not as easy as saying cheer up or stick a smile on your face, if only it was that easy. Most of us struggle of knowing how to connect to that part of ourselves. The dark part, the fear part, that's easy. We do that every day. We criticise ourselves, we put ourselves down, we worry about things, but the happy bit, the bit that we're supposed to be doing, the lovely bit, that's the hard bit, actually. And that's the bit that we all need a little bit more help with. In life, we only have two choices. We're either moving towards love or we're moving towards fear. Every decision that you make, from what you're going to do with your life, who you're going to go out with, what you have for your dinner, every decision is either moving you towards love or it's moving you towards fear. And when you're moving towards happiness, you are moving towards love, because you are moving towards love for yourself. And of course, fear, darkness, all that sort of horrible stuff is really not good for us in any way, shape or form. The thing is, at the moment, the world seems to be saturated by fear. We're all living with this darkness, of course not helped by the media. There seems to be in this never-ending game of let's scare the crap out of everybody at any given moment. I, for one, actually don't watch the news or buy newspapers anymore because it just makes me feel even worse than I do already. I'm not saying that we should all stick our fingers in our ears and skip around like unicorns. Life isn't like that. I get that. There are awful, terrible things that happen every single day. But at the moment we are totally out of balance within ourselves. If you imagine us being on a seesaw with love and happiness on one end and fear on the other, we're all up in the air waving our feet about, not really knowing how to get back down. We are totally out of sync with ourselves, and that's why I wrote this book, and that's why I'm here with you today. Because I really do think we need to readdress things and come back to ourselves. One of the most important things to remember, I feel, and one of the things that I've learned, is that happiness is a choice. It really is. So we have to decide and commit to being happy. The other thing that I've realised is that we all deserve to be happy. It doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, what you've done. You're a human being. You deserve to be happy. But it's not going to come and knock at your front door. It's not going to come and go, excuse me, here's all your dreams come true, have a nice life, see you later. If you want it, you have to go out and you have to make it happen for yourself. But, yeah, I'm sorry, look, I wish I had a magic wand that could go happy, 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 happy. I can't. There is a but, because it's not that easy. If only. There are blocks in the way that we have to get over. Blocks that stop us being happy, blocks that can dominate your whole life if you let them. And we all have our fears, our baggage and our insecurities that stand in our way, that we have to look at, and we have to decide whether we're going to let it take control or whether we're going to take control and say, I deserve more than this. This is not my life. I deserve better. I am not immune from that. I still to this day have my own issues and baggage. I could go on about them, but I would be here until tomorrow. So I will boil it down to 3 for you, for the sake of convenience. I am a chronic people pleaser, I am an overthinker, and I have very low self-esteem. But these are things I work on and focus on every single day. Yours probably vary from mine, but I do think most of us have come across these things at some point in our lives, which is why I want to focus on them predominantly, so I can show you how you can start to move past them. You don't have to allow your fears to dominate your whole life. If happiness is a choice, then so is fear. Problem is, fear shouts louder than happiness does initially, because we're so used to it. But it doesn't mean you have to allow it to take over. You always have a choice. So let's go through them one by one, and let's see how we can start to move past them. In terms of being a people pleaser, what that means is that you put other people's needs before your own. If they're happy, then you're happy, right? And you go above and beyond to do that in every single moment, so that you are constantly putting everybody else's needs before your own, in the belief that they'll like you more and they'll be happy, and then you can just quietly go about your business in the background. Sync with who you are and what you want. Yeah? You're not in alignment with your own needs. And there's nothing wrong with loving other people or being kind to others. I'm not saying that. I actually advocate a bit more kindness and love in the world. But when you're a people pleaser, you are taking that idea and running 27 miles, like a marathon, in that direction. You've gone with it to the extreme. But the only person you can actually make happy in your life is you. You can make it easier for other people to be happy, certainly, but we're all responsible for our own happiness. You can't make somebody else happy, no matter how kind you are, or lovely you are, or how much you do for them. That doesn't guarantee they're going to be happy. You have to come back into balance to yourself and remember that you are just as important as everybody else. One of the ways that I did this to remove this block in my life was I wrote 2 letters to myself. I didn't show them to anybody else. One letter was from my 8-year-old self, and one letter was from my 80-year-old self. My 8-year-old self allowed me to remember the things that made me happy when I was little. My dreams, my hopes, my joys, things that I'd even forgotten about, to be honest. Once you start to connect to that energy and start to write things down, you remember things that you'd long forgotten. The 80-year-old, on the other hand, I wrote it from a perspective of saying what I wished for my life, where I hoped I would be, what life lessons I thought I would have gotten over. So those 2 letters together helped me then to reconnect to what was really important and to what I was and who I was and what I wanted for myself. We're all here for such a short amount of time in the big space of life. And if you're living a life for everybody else, then honestly you are robbing yourself of the chance to make your life the fantastic place it deserves to be. In terms of being an overthinker, I can take an idea or a thought or a problem, and I can pretty much guarantee that I will turn it upside down, inside out, back to front, over and over and over and over and over again. I literally drive myself insane. My brain likes to think about things pretty much non-stop, even if they think it's never going to happen. It just likes to play and drive me crazy from time to time. You basically become the world's greatest builder, but rather than building houses and architecture and these massive things, you're making mountains out of molehills with every single issue in your life within inside your own head. But doing that places you under untold amounts of stress. Like I ended up with IBS and really bad eczema simply from my overthinking. I was studying myself in the tears, nobody was doing it for me. And it really put me out of sync and alignment with how my inner guidance. So I couldn't listen to myself anymore. I doubted everything I was thinking, everything I was feeling, because my brain just likes to go round and round and round and round and round. So you have to stop it. Because when your mind is like that, and you're rushing around and you can't stop thinking about things, you're like a runaway train down a hill. My speech gets faster, I eat things really quickly so I can't hardly taste them. I'm very stressy because my brain is just going into overdrive. In that moment, the best way to get over something like that is to breathe. Now I know that sounds really stupid because we all breathe all the time, right? But when you're stressed and you're going about your life and you're busy, we only use the top 10% of our lungs to breathe. Most of us do. Most of us don't breathe properly and we quite shallow breathe. The issue with that is that it makes your body really tense and you get more and more stressed. It's not helping. So in that moment, what you need to do to help yourself out is to slow down. You have to do a thing that we all read about and we've all heard about, is that you have to consciously breathe. So in a very slow and controlled way, and I've been doing lots of this today, you have to take your breath all the way down, slowly into your stomach, hold it, and then very slowly let it out. What that does is it slows your blood pressure down, it slows your heart rate down, it calms you mentally, and then you have the space then to look at what it is you're actually overthinking about. And you can ask yourself, is this really worth my time? Because most of what we overthink about, it's not really that important, let's be honest. We make it important by the fact that we can't stop thinking about it. And if it's not that important, then we have to find a way to let it go. Because you're not helping yourself, right? And to find a way to be both more positive and more productive. I try and say the serenity prayer when I remember. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it or need a bit of a reminder, that is, God, grant me the strength, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So if what you're overthinking about, you can do something about, stop thinking and go and do it. It's that simple. If you can't change it, then you're going to have to let it go. Because thinking about it, it's just going to drive you crazy and it's not going to change the situation, right? So let it go or do something is basically my top tip for that one. But my biggest block, the thing that's really stopped me being happy above everything else, I didn't like myself at all for around 33 years of my life, and I'm 36 now. My self-esteem was lower than a worm that had been sat on by an elephant. I did not like myself one bit. On the outside, I was Miss Bubbly and Miss Happy and, ooh, Katie's lovely. On the inside, well, I was someone who put themselves down, didn't believe in themselves, and constantly wished I was somebody else. Normally my friends. I ended up making friends with people who I wanted to be more like them. Not a great basis for a friendship, that's a top tip, but that was my whole life. I was so not secure within myself that I would look to surround myself with people who I wanted to be more like. You have to remember though, your mind is basically like a computer, right? So your mind will believe whatever you tell it to be true, and it runs programs according to the code that you put in it, right? So what does that mean? Well, basically, if the code you're running is the self-hate code, which is what I was running for 33 years, then trying to find happiness is practically impossible, because you are going to block yourself at every turn and put yourself in situations that are really, really not good for you. The bad relationships, the unfulfilling jobs, the things that are not good for your health, bad friendships. You're going to do it again and again and again because you don't believe you deserve any better. And you put up with bad things because you honestly believe that. And you attract people into your life that treat you like rubbish, because every single person is your mirror. So everybody you meet in life, your loved ones, your friends, people you meet, your acquaintances, everybody is your mirror. And if you find that people aren't treating you very well, then you need to stop and have a look inside and think, okay, how do I actually feel about myself? Because people will show up that are totally reflective of that, of how you feel. So just a bit of a side thing, if your relationships aren't great, you might want to do a bit of inner work on that one. I certainly have. For me, it also showed up that, so when I was at school, I was bullied for 4 years in an all-girls grammar school. And by the time I got to my GCSEs, I really had enough. I just wanted to get out. And I was quite a bright student. I wouldn't say I was an A student, but I was doing quite well. And my careers advisor said to me, Katie, what do you want to be when you leave school? And I said, I don't know. And she looked like I slapped her around the face. She went, what do you mean you don't know? Like she had a clipboard and a tick chart. She wanted to get me ticked off now. And I went, well, I don't know. And she said, well, have you done any work experience or that kind of thing? And I said, well, yeah, I've worked in my mum's friend's got a nursery. She went, childcare. Before I knew where I was out the door with a brochure and going to college to do childcare that I did not want to do. And for the first year, I didn't do any coursework whatsoever. And that's to do 2 years of coursework in 1 year. I just about passed. But the point is, when I said to her, I don't know, I was lying. Because I did know. I did. And what I wanted to do was this. Not this. I mean, I didn't never imagine my life would be here. Goodness me. But I wanted to write. I've always loved writing. I've loved English. I've loved books. It was everything. I read books since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as my nan used to say. But I didn't believe in myself. I generally thought, what's the point of even trying? Because I'm going to fail. I'm going to be rubbish at it. People will laugh at me. What's the point? So I blocked myself before I'd even given myself a chance. And ended up doing something that I hated instead. Madness, right? But that's what blocks do. If you don't kind of pay attention to where your blocks are, they can take control of your whole life and take you down paths that you really, really don't want to be on. So, what you've always done, you will get what you've always got. And hating yourself and expecting your life to be happy and magical and wonderful, you're making it very, very hard on yourself. If you really want your life to change, then you have to change the way you feel about yourself. It starts with you. Don't blame yourself for what happened in the past. We've all done things and been through things that are not great. That's just life. But if you're coming at yourself with blame and guilt, all it's going to do is make you feel worse. and take you further away from your happiness. You did the best that you could at the time. You may not do those things now because you're not that person anymore. And coming at yourself with blame and guilt and shame, you can't change what's happened, it's gone. The key thing is to take the lessons from that time and to move forward. Let it go. Because you're literally carrying a wardrobe of pain and guilt on your back. And all it's going to do is going to weigh you down and make you feel even worse. And stop you doing the things that you really, really know that you can and should be doing. Sorry. It's not going to change overnight. You have a lifetime of beliefs, issues, opinions, personality traits to work through. And that is not going to change overnight. This happiness thing that I am on, I totally believe in it 100%, but like I say, I do not have a magic wand. I can take you down the path and I can show you the way, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. If you read my book, it comes out tomorrow, and completely finish it in one day, Saturday morning you're not going to wake up and be a happy, sparkly person. I'm sorry, I wish I could, but it's not going to happen. Because you have all the baggage in here. What it is going to do is it's going to help you start to work through it and unravel it and take you to a happier place eventually. But it's all work, right? It takes 90 days to form new pathways in the brain. That's why it takes 90 days to give up smoking. Because you have to consciously show up every single day. But when you do that, then you'll start to notice the shift. And believe me, it really is worth the effort. It really is. You have to start putting yourself down. Even if it's in a jokey kind of way, and we all do that. I don't know whether it's a British thing, I don't know, but we're very, very good at doing that self-deprecating humour. We put ourselves down, I think, so that we get in there first. It's like a defence mechanism. So we think, well, if we put ourselves down, then nobody else can, because we've done it first, right? Actually, what you may as well do is open the door and put up a welcome mat for them. Because what you're basically saying is it's okay. I can do it, so you can do it too, because that's fine, I've done it, so I've paved the way for you. Come and have a go at me, and be horrible about me, because I can do it too. You have to realise that you set the bar for how other people treat you. So if you want love and respect in your life, you've got to give it to yourself first. You have to stop saying it's okay to put yourself down. And stop, please, 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 stop focusing on the bits of yourself that you don't like. You know that bit where you look in the mirror and you look fabulous because you've got your new outfit on and you got your hair done and you look amazing, but all you see are your wobbly bits and the bits about yourself that you don't like. Well, if you do that, you might as well get a highlighter pen and draw a big ring around yourself or have a neon sign above your head. Trust me, even Beyonce and David Beckham have bits about themselves they do not like. We all do. But you have to focus on the bits of yourself that you do like, inside and out. And don't tell me you haven't got any, because I don't believe you. We all have bits about ourselves that are nicer. Doesn't mean that you have to focus on the bits of yourself all the time that maybe you're not so proud of. We all have them. You've got to be your best friend. Above anything and anybody else, you've got to love yourself first. Looking to other people to validate you and give you everything you want, it's not going to work, sadly. If you put your happiness in somebody else's hands, no matter with the best intentions in the world, they'll drop it at some point because they're human beings and they make mistakes too. So stop looking to other people to fix everything for you and to make it better and to validate you as a human being. It is within you to do that for yourself. You are responsible for yourself. Start living your life and putting your own needs first. Your blocks are not permanent. It may feel that way at the time. Goodness knows I thought my low self-esteem would last forever. But they're not. You can move past them. You just have to decide. Decide to do it. You have everything you need within you to move past them and to have a happier life. You just got to make that decision. Happiness is not in material things or outside achievements or what you look like. It's within. And the 3 keys that I found to unlock that door: kindness, gratitude, and mindfulness. When you're rushing around from day to day and you're stressed and you get out of my way, all these people, God, especially around here, London's mental. You can think the whole world is out to get you. You feel like everybody's there to get in your way and stress you out and really just give you a bad day. Thing is, most people, not all people, 99% of people also want to be happy, also want to be loved, also want to have that bit of kindness in the world, right? So by giving kindness, basically what you're doing is that you are putting that energy out starting with you, right? You're making the world a brighter place. By being kind, what happens is you release serotonin in your brain when you're kind to somebody else. And serotonin is a chemical that exists within the brain that is a feel-good chemical. What's great about kindness is not only do you get serotonin, the person on the receiving end of your kindness gets it too. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. And from my own experience, what then tends to happen is it's like a pebble in a pond, because they will then feel driven to go and be kind to somebody else, and they'll be kind to somebody else. So you're just making that world a little bit brighter simply by showing a bit of kindness. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. You will think that it's something small and insignificant, but it could be the biggest thing in the world. Giving somebody a hug, just listening to somebody, giving somebody homeless on the street £1, which you think was just £1. Actually, you're helping, you're doing something. It's better than just pretending that you're the only person in the world and it doesn't matter. It does matter. If we were all a bit kinder to one another, we would start to really turn things around overall on a global scale. In terms of being mindful, and we've all had those moments where your brain kind of wanders off for a little while. You know what I mean? You're doing a job, a quite menial task. Those tend to be the key moments. You're brushing your teeth, or God forbid you're driving your car, but your mind kind of wanders off for a while. And you come back and you go, oh, I don't remember the last 5 minutes. How did I get here? And I tend to find it's one of two things. You're either thinking about the past or you're thinking about what might happen in the future, but you're not present, right? And when you're not present, what happens is you're robbing yourself of the opportunity of finding happiness right now, because you're so worried about what has been or what might be. Now, like I've already said, the past is gone. You can't do nothing to change it. So living in the past with wishful thinking is a complete and utter waste of time. Absolutely. Even if you wish you could go back, or you wish you could change things, or blah, blah, it's gone. All we ever have is this moment right now. The fact that I came to London today, I can't change it. The fact that I bought my drink from the vendor down the street, I can't change it, it's gone. We only have right now. And worrying about what's going to happen in the future, look, we all should have goals and plans and dreams, because that's what moves us forward. But if you're constantly worrying about what if and the unknown, again, you're robbing yourself of right now. And believe me, you do deserve to be happy right now. Putting your happiness off to that time when you've lost weight, or the kids have grown up and left home. I have 3 of my own, I know that feeling very well. Or you've won the lottery. You're putting your happiness off to some magical moment in the future. And what if, okay, let's say for argument's sake, those things did happen and you got to that point. The excuses are coming from low self-esteem. So if you got to that point, you would find another excuse to put your happiness off. You keep moving it back and moving it back because you don't really think that you deserve to be happy. And what if you never get to that point in your life? Does that mean that you don't deserve to be happy? It's crazy. So mindfulness is really, really important. And I think actually mindfulness can be achieved, again, through the breath, that slow, controlled breathing, having that space to calm down and to really focus on the now. I've also found that our 5 senses are key. So when you're rushing around and you're really busy and your brain's all over the place, take a moment to stop and ask yourself, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I taste? And what can I touch? And when you really focus down on that, it brings you back to the now. I started doing it now when I brush my teeth, because I feel like it's a really key time for me, for my brain to just take a wander off for a while. And so I kind of refocus now on the sound of the toothbrush and the taste and feeling the water, because it brings me back to the moment. So it's like practice for me. And when I do it in that moment, then I'm able to apply it to other moments as well. What we have is right now, like I say. And by coming back to now, you'll realise actually it's a really important thing. And another way of doing that is through gratitude, like I said. It's not happy people that are thankful, it is thankful people that are happy. And happiness comes not from wanting everything that you don't have, it's actually wanting everything you do have. Yeah? We all have blessings in our life, we really do. And even if you're going through a really difficult time and you don't think that you don't have an awful lot, my goodness me, social media is the absolute dearth of that one. But you have to remember on social media that everyone's filtered, right? They're only showing you the bits they want you to see. And yet if you look at it and think, well, they've gone on holiday and they've got a car and they've got a lovely house and I've got nothing in comparison. Yeah, social media is lovely and I love it to death, but just be careful of comparison trap because it's not a great place to start from. Let's be honest, if you've got food in your fridge, a roof over your head, a place to sleep and clothes on your back, you are richer than 75% of the world's population, right off the bat. So if you think I ain't got nothing, believe me, there are people who will swap places with you in a heartbeat. Absolutely. You won't have to worry about somewhere to sleep tonight. You don't have to worry about being safe. There are lots of reasons to be thankful. You are here. You are alive. My goodness me, if that's not a reason to be grateful in itself, I don't know what it is. One of the ways that I found, and I know you probably all heard it before because it is one of those real cliche things, but trust me, it works because I've done it, is the gratitude journal. If you don't know what that is, you get just a plain notebook and you write down 3 things every day that you are grateful for. Small things, big things, all of it, put them down. Nice cup of coffee, it's sun shining, someone smiled at me, to things like, I had a baby today. Real things that you are grateful for. And when you start to look for those moments that you are grateful for, your brain searches them out. Your brain takes notes of them. You're shifting the way you think simply by looking for the blessings. It also has the added bonus that you can go back and read the journal if you're having a really crappy day. Because it really is that kind of gift, like I say, that keeps on giving. So, kindness, gratitude, mindfulness, moving past those blocks. Have these techniques actually worked for me? Yes, absolutely. I'm not happy in every second of every day. My friends do call me Little Miss Sunshine, but I'm not a cartoon character, I'm a human being. But I have noticed a considerable shift within myself over the last couple of years. Like I say, I am now the happiest person that I know. Certainly seem to be surrounded by a lot of people who are not, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do. I should note, if you take away 3 things from this talk, everyone deserves to be happy. Happiness is a choice. 3rd thing, it's okay to not be okay. Now I know that sounds really weird in the talk about happiness. It's really, really important to remember. Because for all my talk, you can't fully start to work on happiness if you're not ready to do it. And putting the pressure on yourself to, right, this is it now, I'm committing, I'm ready, I'll be happy, let's go for it, and you're not in that headspace, all you're going to do is put more pressure and stress and fear on yourself. Because suddenly you're going to judge yourself for not being good enough, for being rubbish, for not being perfect, and more self-esteem problems. So it's okay to not be okay. We all have down days, all of us. There's nothing wrong with you if you do. Like I say, I feel flat and fed up from time to time. I'm normal, I'm human. The problem comes, I think, that if you find yourself in that space every day, on and on and on and on, then that's not okay. And that's when we should seek help, because you don't have to suffer in silence. And we've all had moments of real darkness, and I think it's okay to reach out to others and get the help that you need. Emotions themselves are nothing bad and scary and awful. It's our interpretation of them that makes it so. It's the way that we see our emotions that really can cause problems. But it's when you push those emotions down, right? So if you're feeling angry, or you're fearful, or you're fed up, or you're feeling worried about anything, but you don't want to express any of that because you worry about what other people might think. You don't upset anybody, so you push it down. You cause problems for yourself. Because emotions are like bubbles in lemonade. At some point they have to come up and out. And if you're denying them and you're repressing them, that's when you have real potential for pain and suffering, because hurt people hurt people. So the thing is that if you are not in a good headspace, which we all get from time to time, like I say, is to explore those emotions without judgment and to really look at, okay, what is this trying to tell me? Because your emotions are that. They are signposts. They're trying to lead you to your attention. Pay attention to something that's going on. So if you're angry right now, why are you angry? What's that trying to tell you? What are you passionate about? What do you want to change? If you're anxious right now, then what's that trying to tell you? There's something not, you're living in the past or you're living in the future. Your emotions are signposts. So rather than piling on guilt and shame on top of an emotion for having it, which is only going to make you feel worse, by the way, is to go, actually, okay, I feel this way right now. What is this trying to tell me? And then you can start to look at it objectively and start to try and move past it. So don't beat yourself up. If you're not in the right headspace right now to start working on your happiness, that's okay. You know, you have a lifetime to work on it. It doesn't have to happen by next week. Basically, I hope this talk has shown you how important happiness is in your life, and I hope it's given you a bit of fire in your belly to at least look into it more and to want it for yourself. Basically, enough with procrastinating, enough with excuses, enough with putting yourself down. You deserve to be happy, and it's time to go and get it. Thank you very much. Questions?
I've just been reading your book.
I know.
It's so wonderful, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I like the way you say spread happiness around like chocolate spread on the toast.
Yeah, I wanted to say Nutella, but I didn't want to get run for copyright.
No, I agree with you, about gratitude and kindness and forgiveness. You also mentioned forgiveness and non-attachment.
Yeah.
And you love acceptance of yourself and saying sorry. I mean, I'm going to say sorry.
Oh, sorry was my favourite word. Absolutely. Actually, I'd say a quick thing. When I was learning to drive, and it took me 10 years to pass my test, don't judge me. And I was driving one day, and there was a car at a junction. He was waiting to come out and turn right, and he was just sitting there. He wasn't in the way or anything, but you know that thing, so his bumper was probably out about that much on the road. And I swerved like this to go around him. And my driving instructor said, pull over, and I was like, what? And he went, Katie, he said, stop apologising for existing. He said, you have as much right to be on the road as everybody else. He said, you didn't have to swerve. It's like you could take a big sorry to him. He was just sitting there, and I was like, sorry. And he went, don't say sorry to me as well. I was like, okay. Yeah, we say sorry all the time. It's basically apologising for existing, which is ridiculous. If you have a reason to say sorry, say sorry. Take responsibility, but don't say sorry when you don't need to. We say sorry like we breathe. It's ridiculous. If you kind of save your sorries for important occasions, they mean more. Yeah? So, I'm glad you like it though. I did see you reading the book and I was like, someone bought my book. I'm so happy. Yes, absolute kindness blaster. Just put out that.
Happiness jar as well. Right?
Yes. Yes, a happiness jar is that you get a basic jar and you write down all the things that you're happy for and you put it in the jar each day. So it's like a gratitude journal in a way. It's a big jar. At the end of the year, you open it and you read them. And it'll give you a huge boost and you can put all the reasons over the year that you are thankful and all the wonderful things that have happened. So it's a good little tip, I find. Any other questions? I don't bite, I promise. Yes, darling.
What is your star sign?
My star sign is Libra.
Oh, I nearly guessed.
Did you? Is it that obvious? It's all about, it was my seesaw, wasn't it, analogy? I know. I'm all about balance.
I nearly guessed. I thought Virgo or
Virgo.
Cancer, but
No, I'm all about balance. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Any questions? I don't bite, honestly. Ask me anything. I hate these moments so much.
Let your inner child play. I always like that. I do art. It always gets me back to being a child again. And which is what I like. You have total freedom to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Working with your inner child is really important because so many people, when you're an adult, it seems to come with this label around your neck that says, I must now be sensible and mature and grown up and I cannot have fun and be silly anymore. And I'm not quite sure who gave us this label. I think we must get it from our parents and their parents and their parents. Actually, if you want to be happy, the best, or learn anything new, we are surrounded by spirituality in the shop. And so many people approach it with an energy of heaviness and seriousness. And actually, the best way to approach anything new is with play. If you come at it from a lightheartedness of exploration and fun and just playing with it, you have more success than taking it very seriously. Some things in life are very serious. I can't imagine a doctor playing at his work or an accountant. But if you're looking at happiness, you've got to smile. That's the biggest tip I can give you. Smile for 60 seconds, even if you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Put a smile on your face, because again, that releases the serotonin in your brain. So that your brain will now think you are happier and you'll feel better. So you'll feel like an idiot. Trust me, I've done it in the car. People driving past me like that. Smile. It'll make you feel a little bit better, so much smiley and happy. That's a good tip. Anybody else?
I'm just thinking, don't some people, I mean, I've got a brother who's sort of really melancholic and depressed.
Oh.
And that's his kind of personality.
Yes, I know.
Whereas me and my other brother, we're happy-go-lucky, we're positive attitude. And it's almost they feel we're born with that kind of
Yeah.
chemistry, our mental chemistry.
Yeah, it is a bit nature
It's
nurture.
very difficult for him to be happy in that way, you know.
Absolutely. I had a friend growing up who was a real pessimist, and I said to her, "Are you never happy?" And she said, "No, because if I expect the worst, I'm never disappointed." I thought, oh God, what a horrible way to live your life. If you are a naturally a pessimistic person, it's not impossible. You may have to do, it's going to be, I'm not going to lie, it may be a bit harder to get to my point of being Little Miss Sunshine, but it's not impossible. You just have to do a little bit more work, but you can still get to the same point, if you want to, of course. You may be happy in this melancholy. Some people are. It's not for everybody, I get that. It's not Nutella, sadly. Yes, darling?
What about the weather, like winter and dark nights, I find it very difficult.
Yes, you see my favourite colour is yellow. I do love the summer, I love the sunshine, even though I get hay fever, so again, balance. Yeah, we all feel a bit better when the sun's shining, right? I get that. And certainly I do notice a big change in me with the seasons. When it's the winter and it's dark and it's cold, I actually feel that you should go with it rather than fight it. So it's to change the way that you do things. So rather than going, right, my happiness is now I'm going to go outside and be with the kids and walk in the sunshine and that will lift me, it's to go, what can I do indoors that will also lift me? So for me, that's things like playing with my children and watching a funny film and having those cosy moments around the fire. That also lifts me. And of course, you can still go outside in the winter. You just got to, as Billy Connolly said, there's no such thing as the wrong weather, there's just the wrong clothes. It's yes, again, it's that thing with the melancholy. It's not impossible, it's harder, but if you want it and you commit to it and you show up every day, you can still make the effort. You can still find it. You have to kind of fight it a bit more. Yeah. I actually think we all just hibernate until spring like bears, but that's just me. It's just me.
It's like your morning happiness routine.
Oh. Right, well, first of all, I should say that I have 3 children, and I'm a single parent now. I have 5-year-old twins and a 15-year-old. So I start the day, and I'll write about this in the book, 10 to 6 on the weekdays, because I have to have time to kind of settle into the day. I can't get up and go. So I do a meditation, and I read, and I set my intentions for the day. So that's not today I will do the shopping and wash the kitchen floor. It's things like today I will focus on loving myself more. Today I will focus on what I am grateful for. They are my intentions. And I kind of will step out of bed and I will smile and I will meet the world. And then I get my children out of bed. Now some days it's fine because they're in a good mood and we go out of the house to school and it's fine. Other days I turn a little bit into a bit of a wailing banshee who frighten my children. Ask them, they'll tell you. My intentions sometimes don't last. If I find myself in that headspace of I'm screaming and shouting and my children are driving me mad because they're children, once they've gone to school, I then come back to my intentions when I'm in the car and I'm thinking, right, okay, they're just children, they didn't mean it, that means drive you crazy, it's fine, they love you, you love them. Focus back on, right, what do we intend today? We intend to love ourselves, right? Well, don't blame yourself for shouting at them because they're children. So I have to do a little bit of work. Some days you say it's magical miracle, and some days I have to have a bit of a word with myself in the mirror, but I still come back to the happiness thing. And meditation and setting my intentions and breathing and smiling, I always start my day off right. And I love my oracle cards with a passion. They always make me smile because they're always dead accurate. So, sorry, I'm rabbiting.
Thanks so much to Katie for a talk. She will be signing copies of her book over there.
Yes.
They're 10% off. Something to make you happy.
Yeah, the
hopefully.
book doesn't actually come out until tomorrow, so you'll be like first dibs on it, so yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys, I appreciate it.